Hello, my name is Lauren Goodrich, and I'm the Senior Eurasia Analyst here at Stratfor. I'm joined by Rebecca Keller, Stratfor's Science and Technology Analyst. So, Rebecca, we have been talking for years about Central Asia. Central Asia right now is currently undergoing pretty much the perfect storm of issues. It's always had issues in the past, but we are seeing currently the very first real economic slowdown since the fall of the Soviet Union. We're seeing skyrocketing inflation. Remittances by workers from Central Asia to Russia have been cut in half for most of the countries. And this is all taking place at the same time we have two major foundational issues starting to come to light in Central Asia: water scarcity and a population boom. I was hoping that you could explain a little bit more about the water scarcity issue so we can fit it into the bigger picture that we're seeing in Central Asia.
Absolutely. So water scarcity or water stress in the general Central Asian region isn't exactly new. It's been ongoing since the Soviet Union started to utilize those countries when they were part of the USSR. Extreme exploitation for cotton farming really put a pressure on the limited resources that were there. And essentially the Aral Sea became the poster child for water mismanagement, losing 90% of its area or water over the course of the second half of the 20th century.
Which is something that I've seen when I was in the region, in which you can actually see that where the water has stripped the soil completely of every single nutrient. Especially when I was in Uzbekistan and Tajikistan, there was just no hope for the lands to be used any longer.
Absolutely. And that stripping of the land is not just the Aral Sea. The continued farming of the region, Uzbekistan, while their cotton industry is still fairly strong, are also pushing to increase their wheat production. And in order to get increase yields, they have to irrigate, which puts further pressure on the water. And this just over farming of the land has, really decreased the soil quality as well, which only requires more water. It's sort of a circular problem that they just can't get out of without outside help.
But there are a series of projects planned by these Central Asia states that are simply going to make things worse, right?
Absolutely. One of them that sort of comes to mind is the Golden Age Lake, and that's a project in Turkmenistan where they're in the process of constructing canals to divert some of the water from the Amu Darya, which feeds into what used to be the Aral Sea, and create this lake to support the economy of that region. The problem being they're going to pull water from Sarıgamesh Lake on the Uzbek-Turkmen border, and that's just going to create more conflict. And I remember talking to you, that population is not a population you want to aggravate.
No, the two regions, those two Uzbek Western regions, actually have increased in size by 55% since the fall of the Soviet Union. And one of the regions is actually a separatist region that has autonomy. So this wouldn't even be an issue between the Uzbek government and the Turkmen government, which it will also be, but it will also be a separatist issue in which you could potentially have a population rise up against losing their water resources.
And we talk about population being an added pressure. So which areas of the region are we looking at as far as population pressures to overlay these water pressures?
Well, overall, the size of the population in Central Asia has pretty much on average doubled since the fall of the Soviet Union. But there are the two regions that we're very specifically focusing on, the one in Western Uzbekistan that we were talking about that feeds into those Turkmen projects, but also the populations in southern Kyrgyzstan, western Tajikistan, eastern Uzbekistan, and southern Kazakhstan, all that kind of form around the Fergana Valley itself, in which those populations have such a very small space in which to live. Stratfor has been hearing for quite a long time in which the populations in southern Kyrgyzstan and eastern Tajikistan, there's no housing, there's no land to actually farm on right now because there's just too many people. And so you have multiple families living in apartments all together. And these are the populations that are continuing to boom, and we are going to continue to see a rise in these populations according to the United Nations. So when you overlay the water resource issue with that, that's what I'm particularly concerned with. So what projects are taking place in, say, around the Fergana region?
So the Rogun Dam has recently gotten the green light for funding. It's uncertain where the money is going to come from right now, but
and this is the dam in Tajikistan.
It's in Tajikistan,
okay.
right? And so it's not necessarily directly in the Fergana Valley, but it's another upstream countries that control the water resources, and the downstream countries of Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan, which control the hydrocarbon resources. And so it's in Tajikistan. They recently got green light for funding. So that's going to probably aggravate the situation again. Again, it's just it's just almost I want to call it a powder keg of potential unrest.
And we're already seeing Uzbekistan, who is the country that's really going to be hit the most by all these projects, whether it's from Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan. It's Uzbekistan that's going to hurt the most. And we're already seeing them respond. They've been very vocal in that they will not stand by while their water resources are taken away. And so this past year, we had Uzbekistan cut off natural gas to Kyrgyzstan for 8 months. We've had natural gas and electricity issues between Tajikistan and Uzbekistan quite a bit. And then Uzbekistan is cutting off things like visas to Tajiks. So this is turning much more into a political issue. What the biggest concern is will it turn into a military issue? Uzbekistan has hinted that should the dam, such as the Rogun Dam, or any of the dam projects in Kyrgyzstan actually take a step forward and start construction, then Uzbekistan has the right to militarily intervene. At least that's the next step that they see taking within the next few years. So as you said, it sounds like a powder keg. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rebecca. For more information on this and other topics, please go to stratfor.com.